Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. All right, so yesterday we covered sort of what is cash flow, why does it matter, and how do I actually measure it? How do I actually figure out the money coming in and going out? And although it's really simple because you want the money coming in to be greater than the money going out, right? It's a pretty simple formula. It's a lot more complicated when it comes to actually strategizing around it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The first step in maximizing cash flow is to understand with this three-dimensional view on your business's cash, the timing is everything. So you essentially want to be doing two things to maximize cash flow if I had to break it down. Number one is bring money in sooner. And number two, pay money out later. It sounds crazy simple, but that is the gist of everything when it comes to cash flow. You essentially want to maintain control of your cash for as long as possible. And this means paying your bills when they're due, not early, unless of course you get an incentive, and encouraging early collection of revenue. So let's start with the revenue side of this equation and break down an example that we actually use. So we have a policy for our CFO services in my business that if you want to sign on with us as a CFO client, we will cut the price of our services if you want to pay us for a year in full in advance. So we incentivize our clients to give us control of that cash sooner in exchange for 2 free months of service. So we take our monthly rate, multiply it by 10 and say, hey, basically, if you want to pay me today for all 12 months, we'll do a whole buy 10, get 2 free situation and you'll be, covered for the whole year. When you craft your pricing and you contemplate offering a payment plan, this is what you need to keep in mind. You want to make sure that the outcome that results in the fastest cash flow to you is generally the most discounted for the customer. In other words, if they want to take longer to pay you, they should have to pay more. You want to incentivize the behavior that you collect cash faster. You also want to make sure that if you're going to offer some type of payment plan or deposit structure, that in my opinion, your first deposit that comes in first should be the biggest. Always collect a little bit more than half upfront if you can, depending on what the service is. That's just my little tidbit. But on the expenses side, let's talk about that. This also means timing your expenses so that you're not paying them before the revenue comes in. This is what we used as our example in my story yesterday. You want to avoid prepaying anything unless there's a strong incentive like tax planning at the end of the year or a valuable incentive offered like I described before. So you may not want to prepay a ton of expenses. You really may not want to. You may not even want to pay those software offers, right? Let's break this down for a second. The software offers that say, hey, do you want to pay by month? Do you want to pay for a whole year and you get a discount, right? Be careful with those. There's two things. One is, can your cash flow support the monthly payment? Can it support the annual payment? Are you going to hurt yourself? Even if it's a cheaper rate, this is really important to think about. Even if it's like $100 a month or $1,000 for the year, let's use that. It's $100 a month or $1,000 for the year. And you're like, well, crap, I'm saving $200. I think I'll just do that. Well, are you saving $200? Or are you out $1,000 today where you could have been out $100 today and replenish that over time? Similarly, are you deducting all of that in 1 year when you could have been spreading those deductions across 2 different years potentially? So there's a lot to consider when you're thinking about these decisions. And this also applies to your taxes, by the way. I very often, and this, by the way, you guys know I disclaim this is not tax advice to you, but very often I advise my clients to wait to pay some of their estimates because it actually harms their cash flow to pay too soon. So if they pay too soon, their profit decreases over the course of the year, they've overpaid, and now they've locked away that cash and got it out of their control and into the IRS's control. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have control of my money than the IRS. So I always recommend that we don't pay taxes until we absolutely have to within reason. So it's custom for every client, but that's just something to think about. And you also don't want to just be thinking about expenses, by the way. So many entrepreneurs burn through their cash in the form of distributions or in owner's draws. They either spend business money on personal expenses or they take money out of the business before they realize that some of that should have been earmarked for taxes or some type of big investment they needed to save up for. You come up with these opportunities that you see, let's say an opportunity to join a high level mastermind or an opportunity to, participate in a big program or to travel or to attend a retreat or an experience. And you're like, shoot, I don't have the money in the bank account because I took too much out to pay for whatever last month. So this is the power of the cash flow forecast that I was talking about. So you want to be utilizing a cash flow forecast. And by the way, download your copy if you haven't done so. The link is in the show notes. We're going to have a free cash flow forecast copy for you that you can use as a template. Save a copy and input your exact information into it. See which months might be lower on cash flow. Time your specific launches, promotions, and sales that typically inject cash into your business. Time those with the months that you might be lower. That way you can replenish any low cash flow months. Additionally, if you're looking to make large investments or hire a team member or to take on a big cash outflow, then plot that on your forecast to make sure you can handle that payment, but also make sure you have enough runway before that hits so that you can actually make sure you can afford it, make sure you can afford it over time, right? And make sure you're saving up enough money. This is something I do with my clients all the time. So for example, before I hire a team member, I look at my cash flow forecast and I'll say, okay, I want to hire this team member. So I can hire them in, let's say, 2 months. But for the next 2 months, I have to save like a fanatic because I want to be able to support 3 months of their pay/salary before I ever make any money from hiring them. Because realistically, guys, when you hire a new team member and you're like, this is great, they're going to make me so much money, I'm going to open up my capacity, you're going to be spending the first 60 to 90 days, no question, probably 6 months for most people, but you're going to spend at least 90 days training them and spending more of your time with them than actually going out and getting new business. So don't overshoot the expectations here. Make sure you have enough runway to support their pay for even up to 6 months. I would say 6 months to be safe. Can you support their pay for 6 months if you make no new money as a result of hiring them? That is what a cash flow forecast can answer for you. Those are the types of decisions that we make every day in our CFO services, and I absolutely love it. And you want to make sure that you're intentionally utilizing your cash flow and that your money is not budgeted, earmarked, or set aside. Like it's not like everything has a purpose, right? We're not getting that granular. But what I'm saying is make sure that you know what the events of the future, whether it be weeks or months into the future, what that's going to do to your cash. Did my cash flow forecast for 2023. It was really exciting to look at the whole year and like what we were going to produce and see hypotheticals and go like, okay, if I bring a new client in this month, what happens? Or that month, what happens? And really painted the picture of what my year could look like. And it really is inspiring and it really is encouraging to paint that picture, to see exactly what trajectory you're headed on, and then to adjust course. Because if you can, those video games, maybe it's like Duck Hunt or something, but like you can aim. Oh, it's like Angry Birds. You can aim, right? What you know where it's going to go. You kind of know where it's going to go. And then you go, okay, that didn't work. You can predict it. You can see the trajectory. You can see where it's going to land and you can adjust. You can go, okay, I need to move it a little to the left, a little up, a little down to hit the target. And that's what we can do for you. And that's what a cash flow forecast can do. And look at this as a tool for planning and decision making. You can essentially predict the future. And it's extremely powerful for any executive in their decision making process. I hope you find it helpful in your journey as well. Do you want to explore more about the topics discussed in today's episode? Or maybe you have specific questions on how to apply what you learned? If so, check out the Keep What You Earn community. Join other listeners, entrepreneurs, and experts, and get the support you need to get out of overwhelm and into action. Click on the link in the show notes to join now for free and start maximizing the value you get from each and every episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.